It's Oklahoma Archery. Everything archery based out of Oklahoma for Oklahomans. Let's get it started. Hello, everybody. I'm David Bosca with the Oklahoma Archery Podcast.
I'm Neil Cooley, and y'all, we got Blake Jerome with us today. We're going to talk about the mental side of archery, along with some tip, tricks, and tuning. How you doing, Blake?
Man, I'm really good. Just got back from Lancaster. Like I was telling you guys before we hit record, I was probably the only person in Lancaster coming back to the West Coast that didn't have any issues getting out of the airport. Breezed through security, jumped on the plane. Every departure leaving Baltimore, I swear to God, was canceled except for one flight, and that was mine. And I jumped on, got home an hour early. So it's been good.
We had a friend here from Oklahoma City that drove down to Baltimore to catch a flight. And coming back to Oklahoma City, and his original flight that he was trying to catch was going from Baltimore to Phoenix, then back to Oklahoma City. Oof. That got canceled. He spent the night in Baltimore. The next day, I think it got canceled the next day. Then the second day staying there, ended up in Houston and caught a flight up.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you're right.
I had a buddy that I was reading his post and later talked to him, and he said that he was on a plane for 4 hours, and then they finally canceled and deboarded the plane. He kept getting canceled. I mean, it took him like 2 days to get home and of living in the airport. It was wild. The snowstorm was pretty good. So
yeah.
So.
And another friend of ours that shot it did real good. You may know him, may not. He was from the West Coast. He was stationed there a long time. Oh, Sylvester Cooper, Sly Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Very aware of him. I see all his stuff. He puts out a lot of good stuff.
Yes, so, he does.
Yeah, I'm always watching his videos. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he is. Yep. Yeah. He got shanghaied for a couple of days out there also.
That sucks, man. It was hard. Yeah, this was actually my first time ever shooting Lancaster. I've never been over there. I've shot Mechanicsburg, which is only an hour away from Lancaster, but I've never actually shot the Lancaster because historically it's always been right on top of Vegas, and it's just too hard to go from the West Coast to Lancaster straight to Vegas the next weekend. It's too much time off, and for those of us that don't do this for a living, it's hard to take that much time away to hit both tournaments. So Lancaster is always one that I've wanted to go to. Now that Vegas is at the end of March, I was like, well, I'm going. And now that I've been to Lancaster, I was like, that was more fun than Vegas. I'd if I put a gun to my head and pick one, I think I'd go to Lancaster. So
I've been several times, and that is my absolute favorite indoor national shoot.
Oh, it was so much fun. Just the pressure of one trying to make the cut, then trying to survive eliminations, then shooting your way up through the final. I mean, it's a very cool format.
It's not a total loss if you miss a 10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it takes the pressure off. And that was one of my things. Obviously everyone at a high level, I mean, the goal is to shoot the middle of the target every time. And Lancaster rewards you for that, which I think is good. And, when I work with people and coach people, I always tell people that you really should recalibrate your brain to believe that a 10 is a miss, not a hit. So like when I'm shooting a Vegas round, I tell people all the time, the only thing I do is track my X count, right? So if I shoot a 27X and the other three were 9s, I would record that as a 27X game. I don't concern myself with if it's a 9 or a 10. It's a miss, right? I missed it. My goal was to execute a shot that resulted in the middle of the target, right? And whether it's a 10 or a 9 or an 8 or a 0, it makes no difference. I did not accomplish that goal, right? So Lancaster rewards you for that, right? And I have said for years that a 299 with 29 X's is better than a 300 with 20. In my opinion, 20 X's you missed 10 times. 29X 299, you had one big miss, but you only missed one time.
Yeah. So, well, before we get too much down this rabbit hole of what we love and hate,
sure.
Why don't you go through and tell everybody where you're from, what you do, and most importantly, your bow setups.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm from Washington, Washington State up here in the Northwest. I've been shooting a bow really my entire life. I started out bow hunting with my dad, but for, up until I was 16, 17. I didn't even know the target archery world existed. We were just bow hunters, right? Doing everything wrong. I learned to shoot by punching. I didn't, it's intuitive. You have a trigger on your, and you just think squeeze it when it's time to fire. And that's how I shot for a good portion of my life. And then I joined the Army, wasn't able to shoot a ton there. I was deployed too often. But I had been exposed to target archery right before I joined the Army, and I knew that I was going to come back to it when I got out. Like it was for me. Like I liked it, and so when I got out, I did 5 years. When I got out, I got really into target archery. And as a kid, I always tell people not to sound arrogant or anything, but I was always a standout athlete in everything that I played. And so even being a puncher, I always shot the bow pretty well. And I remember going to my first tournament up here in the Northwest, and I dropped we shot a 1-day safari, and I dropped 42 points. And I think in my mind that I shot really good, right? I'm coming off the course man, I did awesome. And people start turning their scorecards, and there's guys at 1 down, 2 down. And I'm immediately like, these guys cheating? You can't be that good shooting a bow. This isn't even possible to be that good, right? And so immediately, and some of my friends that I had made that were familiar with everybody, they were like, oh no, these guys are just that good. And I was like, whoa, right? That was my first aha moment of whoa, you can get really good at this. So from there, I dove down the rabbit hole, and I became obsessive about getting as good as I could possibly get, right? And that's kind of where it all started for me.
Cool. What do you shoot?
Yeah, so I shoot the Hoyt Concept X, the 40. I shoot the AE Denali bars. I shoot a 33. After Lancaster, that gave me a lot to think about as far as kind of stabilizer setup. So I've actually kind of reconfigured a little bit since I got back. But I'm running a 33 on the front, 12 on the back, mounted low. Got 18 ounces up front right now. 18 ounces up front and only 16 on the back. And right now it's pointing really, really good. I really actually like it. Shoot AE everything, the Freak Show rest, shoot the XP Excel sight. I shoot a 7-power lens. When I shoot indoor, I shoot a big dot and just cover the yellow rather than a pin trying to hold in the middle. I've always been a good holder, but I have found with indoor, I've struggled shooting a small pin indoor because I hold well, I have a tendency to want to tie my execution to my aim. So if I'm aiming well, I will execute well. But on those days that I'm not, I end up trying to hold too much, right? And I just get a little bit too tense, and that can really cause some tension and some execution issues. So going to that big dot where I cover most of the yellow, I still got that halo around, relaxes my brain. I feel like whether I'm having a good hold day or a poor hold day, I shoot the same. Doesn't really make a difference to me. Shooting better under pressure, that kind of thing. So that's actually the first year in many years that I've shot a big dot, but I've really liked it. So yeah.
What kind of arrows?
I'm shooting the Easton, the 27s right now, the Super Drive 27s. I run 175s in the front. I shoot the AE, the 40s, the hybrid 40s. With just a slight right offset, nothing crazy. I've tried helical, I've tried straight. The slight right offset seems to stabilize the best for me. It seems to group the best. And as you guys know, if you've read the book, I'm really, really big into bear shaft tuning. So I bear shaft tune everything anyways. So I kind of find that at 20 yards, kind of the fletch orientation doesn't make a huge difference if you spend a lot of time bear shaft tuning. But yeah, and then this year I'm running I shoot a button, I'm shooting that SX3. I'm really excited for Stan to come out with the new one. We're fortunate up here. We have world-class competition up here. We get to shoot, there's so many really good shooters up here. Obviously we have Bodie that lives right down the road. He shoots league with us we have league Wednesdays and Thursday nights. And he's got that new SX4 and we've played with that a little bit, and I'm really that's going to be a good one. Very, very crisp. You can get that thing to be lighter than you should ever have a release, and it'll still hold 80-pound draw weight, so which is crazy, because on other releases, if you can get them hot, but if you start getting up into those higher draw weights, I get a little bit weary of them, so this one's really clean and crisp. I like it a lot. Yeah.
I haven't got to try the SX3 yet. Is that newer than the Onyx?
No, the SX3 is the older one, right? So the
Okay.
SX3 had I wish I had it sitting right here. It has that it had the dual sear system and that silk path sear. It's really really clean and crispy. It was the model after the stand shoot off. If you guys were familiar with the shoot offs, right? So it's the same internals on that. Those internals are actually interchangeable. The difference between the shoot off is the shoot off was more swept back. The SX3 is more straight handled. So I like the straight handled stuff. Feels like I get a little bit more leverage in it. The swept back stuff, I'm not as strong on the back wall in those. So, but I mean the shoot offs are good too. Yeah,
three
three.
finger or four
Yeah,
finger?
I always shoot 3. Yeah, when I shoot a hinge, and I've at university or historically, I should say, I've always shot a hinge, right? And with the hinge, I always shoot 4 fingers because that pinky just gives you a little bit more leverage to get through it. But with the button, I try and be much more relaxed. So Bodie shoots 4 finger, so I mean, you can shoot a 4 finger button and be fine. But for me, I like to try and relax as much. So I like to let my pinky hang and my thumb, so that's kind of how I do it.
I think it's personal preference all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as most things in archery are, right? Everything is personal preference. And at the end of the day, if you have confidence in what you're shooting, you're probably going to shoot it well. So, I mean, there's definitely people out there that don't, set up bows the way that I would. And there's definitely people out there that shoot a bow better than I do, that don't do things the way that, that I would ever do it. But, so that's the thing. Archery is such a personal experience. It's just, what works for you may not work for me, and what works for me may not work for anybody else. And we see this all the time. And that's what's interesting when you watch professional shooters, like the best of the best. If you line them all up, and I always tell people this, from a distance, they all look very similar, right? You can't really see because they're those big major components of shooting a bow. Everyone's kind of hitting those. Everyone's got good solid anchor points. They've got good bases and good foundation and really pretty good consistent form. But when you zoom in on each of them, they all have those style differences. And that's where I tell people all the time, don't get hung up on trying to mimic somebody exactly, right? Build a repeatable shot. That's what's important, So
yeah.
What's your if you had to, because you've gone from a hinge to a button, got monster scores with each one of them. You've had success at a high competitive level with both of them. As far as executing that button, is it a pull backwards? Is it a rotate it like a hinge? Is it a squeeze? What are you telling yourself through the mechanics of it?
So I shoot it pretty light, okay? And so when I come into it, I slow squeeze until it fires. Now here's the deal. I do very much believe that your execution should be largely subconscious. Now, there are going to be instances in competition where you are feeling so much stress and so much pressure that you're just unable to operate in the subconscious the way that we want to. And recognizing that, you got to have a plan for that, right? To be able to maybe consciously get yourself through a shot, right? When you're under intense stress. But for the large majority of the competition, you're going to perform at your best if you can shoot that shot subconsciously. And I always like to use driving as an example, right? When we first learned how to drive, driving is this overwhelming experience, right? There's so much information coming at you. So especially if you're learning how to drive, like a manual transmission, right? There's just so much to do that it's overwhelming. But over time, everybody gets to this point where they experience what they call highway hypnosis, where you drive home and you don't even remember the last 30 minutes of the drive. And you're like, how did I not kill somebody? Right. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting about the phenomena of highway hypnosis is that we never make mistakes when we're under highway hypnosis, right? Because the subconscious runs that autopilot program so efficiently and so perfectly that it can just do it, right? And you get home and you're like, how did I do that? Right? Well, that's really largely what we want our execution to become. We want to be able to just draw back, look at the target, stare at the middle, not try and hold the pin in the middle, but just stare at the middle and let our subconscious take that information and do what it does, right? Now, if we can do that, we're going to execute very, very cleanly. We're going to shoot the middle of the target. Only when we get into these really high pressure moments do we need to switch and say, okay, on this one, I need to be able to slow squeeze the button until it fires, right? And so I like the slow squeeze because for me, and the reason that I've always kind of shied away from pulling through a shot like you hear people say is because we want to give the bow, the best shooters out there, give the bow the least amount of input, right? And so if we are pulling through the shot, what we're doing is increasing pressure all the way through the shot. Well, how am I going to know if I'm breaking shots at 18 pounds or 19 pounds or 20 pounds or 18 and a half, right? So from shot to shot, we might be breaking shots at different back wall pressures. And there's really, people say that you can tune that out, but you really can't. I mean, you maybe can to a smaller extent, but if you stand at 100 yards and you pull hard on one shot and you shoot a weak shot on the next shot, you're going to have vertical discrepancies. There's really no getting around that. All bows do it. And so what is overlooked in archery, in my opinion, to at an elite level, or I should say at an amateur level, those amateurs that are trying to get to an elite level, is the back wall pressure, right? You've got to be able to maintain very, very consistent back wall pressure. And if you can execute from a consistent back wall pressure, you're going to shoot tighter groups. And so pulling through the shot very early on, I realized this is probably not the best way to do this. I need to maintain back wall pressure and find a way to execute from there, which is why I have transitioned to a button, because a button allows you to do that better than a hinge does. A hinge requires movement. Something has to happen in the back wall, whether you're relaxing through or you're pulling through or whatever it is that you're doing to get a hinge to. And don't get me wrong, there are some fantastic hinge shooters out there that have it figured out. And I shot a hinge very well for many years, but I definitely see a consistency improvement when I shoot a button. I just shoot better. Like my indoor games, like, when we're practicing and there's no pressure, I can shoot some of the best indoor games, right? That I'm just not capable of getting with a hinge, right? And so, that button just has a higher degree of accuracy inherently built in. And that's why I like it. And that's, so if you can shoot a button now the caveat is you have to be able to shoot it without anticipation. You have to be able to do it without punching, right? But if you can do that, I think a button is definitely more suited. Now, if you are struggling with some anticipation issues, I think a hinge is better for you, because a hinge promotes better archery movements, right? That promotes being strong in the back wall, right? Actually getting through a shot, keeping the shot moving, right? Whereas a button, you can get very stagnant, and when you get stagnant, nothing happens. And then if nothing happens long enough, your brain panics and just fires, right? And you just see people punch, and then they develop that target panic, right? So if you're dealing with anticipation, I always tell people you should probably shoot a hinge. But if you have anticipation beaten and you're not struggling with it, then you should probably try and use a button, because it has inherently higher degree of accuracy built in.
So working with your coach, do you still take on students?
Yeah, I do. And I love doing it, right? It's one of my favorite things that I get to do. And, I got a lot of stuff going on, but I always make time to. Now, I try and work with people that are very passionate with it. I don't do it like my buddy Sean, like he does a lot of beginner lessons. I don't do a lot of beginner lessons because I like those people that are at that intermediate level that just can't figure out how to get themselves to the high level, right? Because usually it's a mental game. Usually it's just some stupid little thing. Like you watch them and you're like, oh yeah, your shot's good, man. You're looking really, really good. Your mental game's not very sharp. You don't trust your process. You have this little tweak that needs to be made. Being able to take people and show them the way is such a rewarding thing for me. So yeah, absolutely. I love taking people on. My goal as a coach is not to make you have a long-term coach. My goal is to teach you how to teach yourself, right? So usually it only takes a couple of lessons where I can say, hey, these are the things that you need to be working on, and here's what you should be looking for. And if you do that, then you will be able to continuously improve without the need for a coach looking over your shoulder constantly. So I think a good coach, in my opinion, when you're at that more intermediate level, is someone that can teach you how to get yourself to that level. Because archery is such an individualized sport. We're always doing this in our garage or, in the shop by yourself or whatever. So we're always by ourselves. And if you want to get to a high level, you have to understand what you're looking for and what you need to do to get there. You know what I mean? So, I love coaching. It's one of my favorite things that I get to do in archery.
You've had a lot of students, for lack of better words, and two of them, I believe they're twins. Is that right? The girls?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yep. Isabel and Kayla. Yeah.
High level, female shooters. I think I'm going to take that back. High level shooters. We're not going to put them in a female only category.
No, and that's the thing, is that Isabel has been crushing us, right? Like Isabel shot, like at league last night, I shot a 327. I was like, oh, that was solid. The night before I shot a 330. I was like, ooh, that was a really good one. Isabel shot, something up there. But last night I shot 27, which is more kind of where I usually shoot. Like 27 to 28 is what I usually do in league. Isabel throws down a 29, and I'm like, it's wild to me that she has gotten so good, right? And Kaylee's not far behind her. I mean, Kaylee's right there too. Kaylee's a great shooter, but Isabel at the Rushmore Rumble, she took 5th this year in the pro female class. She qualified 6th or 7th in the Lancaster pro female, right behind Paige. I mean, a 652. She beat me in Lancaster. She's just throwing down these giant scores. And for her, she's at that point where I think that the capability is absolutely there. She just now needs more opportunities so she can learn how to deal with that tournament stress, right? Because she shot 1 million tournaments, but not 1 million national championship level tournaments, right? So the more and more she does that, the more she starts to trust herself, the more you guys are going to start seeing her name at the top all the time, because Isabel absolutely has the ability. Kaylee's right there too, right? And now Kaylee's dating Bodie, so maybe she's gonna she might get to the top real quick now. So because he can probably show her things that I can't. So
okay, you've got those shooters, I want to say those 2 that we know of that are above average. Okay, let's say someone comes in by the name of David, Neal, somebody, and says, hey, we want to start. Explain to everyone, if they contact you, which we'll let you tell everyone at the end here how to get a hold of you. What do you do for the first timer of you to see? How do you judge? How do you talk? Do you talk to them on a video? What can someone expect for Blake Jerome to say, hey, I'll take you on, but you're at this level. Expect this in return for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, and so that's a good question. So the very first, and it's generally conference calls. I've done lessons with people all around the world, right? And generally it's conference calls just like this. Now, if you live relatively locally, we can do it in person, which can be nice, but I find that the video calls work really just as well. I don't need to be there with my hands on you, right? We can do everything through a conference call. I just did one this morning before I got on with you guys. I was working with a couple, and it was their first lesson. And so we sit down and we talk through what is it that you're trying to do? What's your goal here, right? Because if you're just a bow hunter that wants to shoot a deer at 20 yards, like, I'm going to coach you a little bit differently than somebody that says, hey, I really want to get to the pro level. So I try and get a feel for what's your drive, what's your determination in this? Like, because I believe that most everybody in the world has the physical capability to get to the top. I truly believe that, but very few people have the correct mindset, right? This mindset of, for one, I always find that the most hyper competitive people end up being the best, because they just want it so bad that they're willing. I always tell people that if you want to get to the top, the work necessary to get there needs to be irrelevant, right? If I tell you to shoot 500 arrows a day, it's just a hurdle, right? Like, okay, fine, I'll shoot 500 arrows a day. If I tell you to shoot 100 arrows a day, fine, whatever. If I tell you, hey, you got to do 100 push-ups, right? Like, they just do it, right? I don't make people do push-ups. So I'm just saying, like, no matter what I make you, like, no matter what I ask you to do, you're just like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'll do it, right? The work to get there, you have to want it so bad that the work to get there is irrelevant. So, we sit down and we talk through goals and we talk about, shot style. What do you believe in? What's your philosophy for execution, right? Here's what you can expect from me. This is what I believe in, right? So the first lesson that we always sit down and do is more of a consult than anything, right? What is it that you believe in? What do you want to get out of this? Here's what I believe in, and I'm only going to teach you what has worked for me, right? I'm not going to teach you something that somebody else does, right? So all I can do is teach you the philosophies that I believe in. Now, when I and just archery in general, I'm a very analytical type thinker. And so archery in general, I try and take from a very logical place, like a very, almost science-y based place. Like when I set up stabilizers and stuff, I set up stabilizers with physics in mind, right? Like how can I make this bow actually work for me and not against me? How can I minimize torque on my front shoulder? How can I build more inertia on the front bar to resist movement? How can I do that efficiently instead of putting inefficient mass on the bow, right? Because if we're just putting a lot of mass on the bow, all that's going to do is fatigue me and it's working against me. It's not doing anything. So like when I set up a bow, I take a very logic based approach. I don't, so when I coach people, I make sure that they understand that, like, hey, I might ask you to do some certain things, but I'm also the type of person that I will never ask you to do something just to try it. I will always say, hey, I want you to try this and here's why I think you should. I'm always going to give you the why, because that's the kind of thinker that I am. Like, I love learning, and you could sit here and tell me, you could look at me and be like, oh, your shot's all wrong. I want you to try this. And I would be open-minded to that. But first I need you to explain to me why you think that, right? Like, let's work. Why do you think that I should change the way that I shoot the bow? And if your logic checks out, then fine. Yeah, I'll try that. I love to learn. So like, if you can teach me something, the worst people out there are the people that think that they know everything already. And I don't care what level you get to, you should always want to learn. And like, I was talking to Paige not too long ago, and she's like that. Like, Paige is a learner. She loves to learn. And then she loves to take what she learns and teach other people and put videos out online and that kind of thing, And, I think the worst people out there, or the worst people to work with, are the people that think that they just have everything figured out, right? And they want a coach to tell them that they're doing amazing. And, I always tell people, like, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to tell you that you're doing amazing if you're not, right? I can't get myself to do it, right? So if you're struggling with something, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know and what I think you're struggling with, right? That's what a good coach does. I had a lot of coaches growing up playing sports, and when you're getting coached, sometimes they're harsh and it doesn't feel good, but they're telling you what you need to hear, right? Because they see that potential in you, and I think that's what's important.
Yeah, that was me growing up. They would tell my dad, it's like, he's got no athletic capabilities whatsoever, but God, he listens good. I wish I could get them all to just be as receptive to feedback as him. I'm like, yeah, never going to be in the Olympics, but by God, I'll know what to do if I ever could. So.
Hey, man, so again, archery, everybody has the physical capability, right? Are you willing to learn the proper techniques and the things that are going to, and look, there's a million different ways out there to execute a release. There's a million different ways to shoot a shot in archery, right? But are you willing to learn how to do it repeatable, build something repeatable? Right? Are you willing to learn how to be consistent? Are you willing to learn some of these things? Are you willing to take the time to learn about the mental game? As you guys know, everybody spends all of their time trying to physically shoot the bow, but how many people actually sit back and want to learn about the sports psychology involved with actually competing under that kind of stress, right? Because that's where everybody chokes. I know so many people that can stand in their backyard and shoot pro level scores when they're by themselves. But then as soon as they go to a tournament, they don't make cuts, or they shoot, 200 points down, right? There's a lot of people out there like that. Are you willing to do the necessary work, right? And that's just, for me, I realized very early on that it wasn't going to be my physical, there was not going to be any physical limitations that was going to prohibit me from shooting good scores. It was going to be my mind, right? And so from a very early on in the target archery game, I was like, I got to figure out how to not implode and not panic, right? And it's hard. It doesn't matter what level you get to, guys are always going to struggle with it, but the more you can manage it, the better you can do, the better off you're going to be, right? You watch the shoot-offs, the finals in Lancaster this weekend. Bodie missed a 12. He didn't expect to miss that 12. I watched Bodie shoot 100 12s in a row in the shop. Like, he never misses them, right? So pressure gets to everybody, right? No one's immune to it, but Bodie certainly manages it better than most people, right? Yeah. And a lot of those top tier, those names that we always see at the top, a lot of those guys are managing it way better than the rest of us, right? And so the better we can manage that pressure, the better off we are. And that's what's interesting, right? Like, if you were to stand in the shop and watch me shoot next to Bodie, to the untrained observer, we're going to look exactly the same. I mean, we basically shoot the same scores. at league nights, right? Like we track our scores, and I think he's like 0.4 of a point on a 330 average. He's like 0.4 of a point better average than me this year through 23 games, right? Like we're very, very similar. But when we go to a tournament, this dude shoots 660s and I shoot 650, right? Because he has this ability to, when he goes to the tournament, he's like, I'm just going to shoot better. And what I've realized over the course of doing this is that we always try and rely on confidence, and I've discovered recently that it's not confidence that makes us good. Obviously, confidence is good. If we can go to a tournament with confidence, great. But confidence is volatile, right? How many times have you guys started a tournament and the first end goes amazing and you're like, I'm locked in today. I'm confident, right? I have confidence, right? And then you shoot one bad shot and your confidence is in the toilet, right? We've all done that. Shooting elite level scores does not come from confidence. It comes from indifference, right? Being indifferent about what you do, being so overly confident in the process that you have built in practice that you are indifferent about what you do. That's where elite level scores come from in anything. Think of any sport. This is true with anybody that does anything at an elite level. They are so indifferent about what they do. And when I say indifferent, I mean they just know that that's who they are to their core. When I pick up a bow, I am going to shoot the middle of the target. I don't care who's looking. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care if I'm standing on the final stage or if I'm in Vegas shooting for a whole bunch of money. It makes no difference. I'm indifferent about what I do. Right? Indifference is truly the catalyst to get you to an elite level. And these guys that we're always seeing at the top, that's exactly what they are. They are indifferent. When, again, we shoot with Bodie all the time because he lives right down the road. And he is the most indifferent shooter that I've ever seen, right? The rest of us are trying to hype ourselves up and get confident and be like, yeah, tonight's the night. I'm going to shoot a good one tonight. And Bodie walks in and he's just like, yeah, no, I'm going to beat all of you tonight. Like, and it's not even really this like cocky attitude. It's indifference. It's just, he knows that that's who he is, and he is going to execute good shots, and those good shots will result in bullseyes every single time he shoots the bow, right?
That's reading the room in a way that I don't think I've ever stopped and looked at. I guess a lot of people would call it, I'm not going to say class or type ABC, but some people go there, boy, that's a quiet kid, or that's a quiet guy or gal, or they're stuck up, or there's something. But no, it's just, and it's not an arrogance factor.
Yeah.
It is truly what you're calling indifference. That's a neat way of looking at it.
Yeah. And this is honestly, I have also told people in the past, like, we got to have confidence, and the more I do this, the more I realize it's not confidence. Confidence comes and goes. Confidence comes in waves. It leaves. When you can get to a point where it's not confident, you know what I mean? Like, I could shoot, like, for using Bodie again as an example, right? If he jumped up on the stage and, chanked a 9, right? It doesn't mean that he's going to implode and keep shooting 9s. He would continue shooting them in the middle, and he would probably never. For example, last night was actually a really good example of this. So Bodie gets up there, very first arrow, shoots almost a 9, like it's a low 10, right? And then he proceeds to shoot a 29x 300, right? And the rest were just dead center, right? So when he makes that mistake, he looks at it as like, what an anomaly that was. That was weird, right? But he's so indifferent about the way that he shoots that it doesn't wreck any kind of confidence, right? He just knows that, it's archery. Sometimes that happens, like, whatever. But he's so indifferent about the way that he shoots the bow that it means nothing to him. Doesn't matter, right? I'm still going to shoot the rest of these in the middle. Whereas the rest of the people that I see, how many times have you seen people, or done it yourself? I know I have. I'm definitely guilty of this. Stepping up, first arrow 9, and I'm like, oh God, today's going to be the worst day ever, right? That's not shooting with indifference. That's shooting scared, right? That's trying to rely on confidence and then realizing that the confidence isn't there that day.
Yeah, so easily shakeable.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you teach yourself, teach your other people that you're working with How do you teach them this? Is it a repetition thing? Stand at the blank bail. Okay, I know that my execution is right for my grip. I know my execution is right for my bow setup. I know my execution is right for my arrow. I know my arrow is right for my grip. Do you drive this into them to where this is right and you just have to believe it all the way to the core?
That's exactly where indifference is born, right? Indifference is born, in my opinion, on the blank bell first, right? And so, I've had this debate with people so many times over the years of blank bell's a waste of time. Well, blank bell, anybody that says that is not using blank bell the way that they should be using it. Think of any other sport. And I use Little League because most people played baseball growing up, or at least some form of sport, soccer, whatever it was. Imagine the first day of Little League, right? And your coach just throws you in the uniform and says, hey, go play shortstop. Good luck, bud. All the balls are coming your way. I hope you can stop them. That's not how it worked, right? You went to practice and you learned how to take grounders. You learned how to throw the ball. You learned swing mechanics. You learned how to actually hit the ball. You learned how to grip the bat. You learn all of these fundamentals, and you work really hard to get good at them. And only then does the coach send you out and say, okay, you're actually ready to go play the game now. And then after every game, what do? You go back Monday after school or whatever, and you look at, okay, what did we do at the game? Here are the things we need to work on. We didn't take grounders very good, so today we're going to take lots and lots of grounders, right? Or, we did really bad at catch and pop flies, so today we're going to work on catch and pop flies, And so you work on the things that need to be worked on. Well, archery is probably one of the only sports that I've ever seen where people just buy a full target bow and they just head right out to the range and just start shooting bullseyes without any kind of fundamentals training, right? And so what I try and work on with people is, let's get rid of the bullseye off the target. Let's just get rid of it because here's the deal, right? I could take somebody off the street that has never shot a bow in their life. They've never shot a rifle. They've never done anything like that, right? Never shot anything. And I could hand them a bow, could kind of give them a little lesson. This is how you do it. Hang up a target down there at 20 yards, and their brain says, shoot the middle of the target, right? Hit the middle. That's what I'm trying to do. And your brain is hardwired to take the path of least resistance. Right? You will do whatever you can do to try and shoot the middle. So if you're somebody that is struggling with target panic, if you're struggling with punching, if you're struggling with really any form issue, right, or execution issue, and I hang up a bullseye down there at 20 yards, you're not going to fix it. That's never going to happen because your brain will not allow you to fix it. Your brain gets a shot of dopamine every single time you shoot the middle of the target, and your brain becomes addicted to that like a drug, right? And so if you put up a bullseye down there, your brain says, I want that shot of dopamine, and when that pin gets to the middle, I'm going to hammer this trigger, and I'm going to try and get that arrow to land in the middle. You're just never. Now, add stress to that mix. Add tournament stress, and you're really never going to fix it. You're not. So I see people that are struggling with punching, they're struggling with these different things, and they think that the fix is to go to the range and shoot. And I always hear the same thing. They're like, well, I'm struggling with target panic. I'm struggling with aiming at a target, so I need to fix it on a target. No, you're struggling with a neurological disorder, and you need to fix the root problem first before you try and aim at the target, right? So what I do is I have people blank bell, and I say, okay, we're going to just focus on executing a good shot. That's it, right? The bail is just there to catch the arrow. If we could dry fire the bow without breaking the bow, that's how I would have you train, but we can't do that. So we're going to shoot at the blank bell, and all we're going to do is just work on form. And we're going to retrain you to stop getting your dopamine hit from shooting the middle of the target, but from executing the shot perfectly. That's where your dopamine hit is going to come from, not the result. We don't care about the result. We care about that felt perfect. That's where I get my hit of dopamine. So now, once I get you shooting really, really good shots, I put the target up at 4 or 5 yards where it's real easy. You can hold that pin right in the middle, and we do the same thing. We're still blank bailing. Now we're just looking at the middle of a big, giant yellow target, right? And we get people to do that, right, until that becomes effortless. And then we just back the bail up a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, until they're standing there at 20, and they're still getting that dopamine hit from that really, really perfect shot. Now, once we get the bow sighted in, all of a sudden, arrows are hitting where we want them to hit because you're more concerned with the execution than you are about the result. I tell people this all the time. the result is out of our control for the most part, in a sense, right? Because if I could control the result, I promise you I'd never lose a tournament ever again, right? I don't actually have control of the result. I have control of what I do with the bow, right? So if I can execute a great shot, that the rest is left up to chance, right? Essentially, because I could have a bad knock that makes me miss. I could have, there's several different things that could happen that could make you miss in archery, right? But what happens if we start to judge all of our shots solely based on outcome is we get this negative feedback loop. Because how many times have you made a poor shot, but the arrow still lands in the middle? We've all done that. Does that mean that you should shoot that same poor shot every time? No, because you got lucky on that one. And if you continue doing that, then you're not going to get so lucky, right? And then on the other side of the coin, we've all had shots where we shoot what we think is a brilliant shot, and for whatever reason it misses, right? That's just archery. Does that mean that you shouldn't execute that shot? No, absolutely not. You should continue executing that shot and just chalk it up to archery, right? I missed, I don't know why, whatever. But I'm going to continue shooting this shot because this shot was perfect. And so the reward, the dopamine reward that we get has to come from execution, right? That has to be the place. And if you can start to fall in love with your execution in a way that every single time I do this, every time I'm going to get that hit of dopamine, but you start to become so indifferent, right? And that's truly what it is. That's where confidence is built. And once your confidence gets super high, it really transitions into indifference. And now you just know you can do it, right? I've done it so many times in the past that now I know that it doesn't matter where I go. If I execute a good shot, it's going to go in the middle. I'm not worried about it. I'm not overly concerned with the result anymore. I'm concerned about executing my process, right? So come up with a process and learn that process on a blank belt to a point where you can absolutely do this in your sleep, to where you can experience that highway hypnosis. You can just start to draw your bow back and your subconscious just takes over, right? That's what we're looking for.
And I'm just going to say this, folks, it's all right there. It is. It's written. It's what he's saying. It goes into a little more depth. This isn't a book review. It's not what we're doing this for. I bought this book when he first came out with it, with the audio version. Listened to the audio version a dozen different times. Read the book. I'm not a good reader. I don't claim to be. I am that audio type person. But you're preaching the same thing. And I'm sure it gets more in depth with for each individual people. So if you
absolutely.
If you are the one that wants to get serious or maybe get you back on the right road, would be a good way to say it. You're serious about it already and you just need a tweak. And I always call it, you need another set of eyes on it.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
I was talking to Sly, going back to your point about being indifferent. He was talking about shooting a 60X on the blue face target. And he was like, man, I never get that 60X on that blue face target. I was like, you shoot back-to-back 300s on a Vegas face.
Which is a 60X, yep.
It's easy.
Yep.
And I was like, man, look, I'm going to die. You're going to die. Everyone you know is going to die. There's not a damn thing you can do to stop it. All you got to do is break that clean shot. Because the only two reasons you miss an arrow, was it in the middle when it went off? Yes. Okay. Did it land there? Then you did something to push it out of there. So you're only going for that one of two things on your execution. Was it there when it broke? Did it land there? And if you can do both those things, nothing else in the world matters.
And when people start saying, I can't get this 60X, you're approaching it from an outcome based. You're sitting there and you're too, I guess, fixated on the end result, right? And I always work with people and say, I don't want you. The end result is just the result of you doing a bunch of things correctly, right? And so shooting the middle of the target it's no accident, right? It happens because you did everything correct, right? And I'm really big on not allowing students to ever make excuses, because people just want to do that, and it comes from this place of wanting to save face, right? Like that's one of the problems in archery tournaments, is that people always want to explain away a bad score, right? They want to have some, and it's not even necessarily always like, oh, I just want to make an equipment excuse. It's that they want to protect their self-image, right? They want to protect how other people perceive them. And so they start coming up with reasons as to why something didn't go well. And one of the ways that you can actually really limit the amount of felt pressure is to stop explaining things, right? People came up to me in Lancaster, oh, what, you didn't shoot, the score that I would expect you to shoot. They're like, oh, I don't know. That's it. Leave it at that. I don't say anything else. Right? I don't owe you an explanation. Now, in my head, I might have a million different things that I want to go home and try, right? Like, and that's the way that I approach tournaments anyways, is tournaments are an opportunity to grow, right? I don't look at any one tournament as the end all be all. And a lot of people are looking at tournaments like, I really want to win this one. Well, I would like to win every tournament, right? But tournaments are an opportunity to test what we've been working on. So, if you really want to get to an elite level, work every day and practice hard, right? And then go to tournaments and test. Go to tournaments and see if your practice is paying off. And if you don't shoot the score that you want, whether you win or take last place, in the grand scheme of things, makes no difference, because either way you're getting feedback. If you win, the feedback is, oh, okay, cool, practice is working. What I'm doing, I'm on the right path. I need to just keep doing this. It's working. Everything's going well. If you take last place, you learn a lot, right? You learn about, oh, okay, here's some equipment changes that I think that I want to try. Don't allow yourself to blame it on something, but do allow yourself to analyze, right? So, okay, I didn't shoot the score that I wanted to. Why is that? Right? What is one thing that if I could have changed it this weekend, I would have shot a little bit better, right? And then go home and work on that one thing, right? And that is my whole process to trying to make myself get better week in and week out. And so far, I don't feel like I've ever plateaued. I feel like every year I get a little bit stronger. I get a little bit better. I do. Now, everybody around me is getting a little bit better too, so maybe I don't win as often, but my scores are continuously creeping up every single year. I'm getting a little bit more consistent every single year, right? And that's because every single time I come from a tournament, if I lose, I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it as, oh, okay, cool. Lots of valuable feedback. I'm going to take this home and I'm going to apply it, right? If you can learn something, you're better off. But we cannot look at tournaments as the end all be all or trying to force outcomes, right? The outcome takes care of itself if we do everything correctly, right? And that's just what it is. There's a direct correlation between really, really highly, perfectly executed shots and good scores, right? And if I could say one thing to all the people listening, it's that becoming outcome oriented, is the wrong path, right? We have to learn how to get that reward from execution and execution alone.
And also, from a focus-based mechanics standpoint, when I'm just having a good day shooting, my follow-throughs are so much better. I'm looking behind the pin after that bow's gone off. When I'm really nerved up and very outcome driven, I'm moving that bow out of the way to look I'm looking where that arrow went. Drop your arm, get this bow out of here so I can see it land in the middle. And you're spraying, if you're shooting at 80 or 60 yards, you're spraying them all over the target. But it's when you're just really relaxed that it's like, man, I broke it clean. I followed through. I kept my bow arm up. I saw the arrow leave all the way through the scope at 40, 50, 60 yards, almost saw it land. And I think it's got to be subconscious, because you can't. It's happening too quick to where you can physically stop yourself from doing it, but it's a subconscious tick basically that's taking over, kind of thing.
That's why I think blank bell and rewiring your brain on a blank bell is so important, because again, if you can change your reward center from a bullseye to a well-executed shot, if you get the dopamine before the arrow even lands in the target, then you're way better off. You're going to shoot better. And what you're going to find, as counterintuitive as it sounds, what you're going to find is that if I execute a good shot, the arrow always lands where I want it to. Very rarely does it not. And it's rare enough that if you just focus on execution, you're always going to be in the tournament at the end of the day, right? You're always going to be competitive, right? And that's the goal, right? But yeah, it's just so many people are outcome oriented in archery. It's a epidemic, I would say. It's almost everybody that I meet, and it's hard not to, because in a competitive, in a competition, obviously we want to score as many points as we can. I get it. I totally get it. And I understand why people get so outcome oriented, because you work really, really hard in practice. You go to a tournament and you don't want to screw it up. You want to go there and perform. Like, why did I spend all of this money? Why did I travel all of this distance if I'm just going to take last place? But what people don't understand, and, if you follow some of the greats of in other sports, the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants and the Tiger Woods and all that, they all have talked about the fact that losing is such an important part of the process to becoming elite, right? Only through painful losses can you ever be motivated to do the work necessary to become great, right? Nobody gets to the top by just winning everything. That can't happen. You have to experience loss. And then the other thing that people don't understand is that to become somebody that can shoot the middle of the target every single time without fail, without ever making mistakes, you have to teach your subconscious all the different ways that you can make mistakes, right? So when you do go through some punching, or you have an incorrect setup, let's say, maybe you run too much weight on the front, you're constantly dipping. Your subconscious starts to learn, if I execute a shot this way, it results in a miss. So let's make sure that we don't do that, right? Because we don't get our dopamine hit. We don't get the points that we're trying to score. We don't get that perfect execution, right? And so your subconscious, without you ever knowing, starts to weed out all of these bad things that you could be doing, and it just starts to execute correctly every time. That's why when you watch these guys that are really, really good shoot a bow, they make it look so effortless, right? Because their brain has weeded out all the bad ways to do it, and their brain just does it correctly for them every time.
I think this goes deeper, and it's a lifelong thing as to why people shoot with this other expectation, is that you hit on it earlier, but looking at life in general, that is how we were raised. We were raised with brothers, with sisters, in school, out of school. We are outcome oriented, and that's our goal. In basketball, that's what I played a lot of. I'm a very tall dude. It isn't, how did you play the game? Hey, did y'all win? How much did you win by? Baseball. The parents aren't sitting in the bleachers watching their kids to make sure that they fielded that correctly, snapped it out of the mitt, and made that throw perfectly. They want to make sure that their team won.
Yep. And no, you're exactly right. And it's the exact same in archery.
Drilled into us from the beginning.
Yeah, 100%. But it's like that in archery too, right? Everybody knows the people that win, right?
We got archery parents sitting behind them going, and you can tell those archery parents, you got some that'll go like, your elbow came in just a little bit. No, they didn't even look downrange for the kid. They're critiquing this side, not that down there. And then you got the other parents that are looking down. How come you missed?
Yeah.
What'd you do wrong?
Yeah. That's the worst.
Not that they missed.
And that's it. If I was a little league coach, I would say, hey, we're not going to worry about winning. We're going to focus on playing the game with correct fundamentals, right? Did you field the ball correct? When the ball was coming to you, did you get your butt down? Did you get the glove all the way to the ground, right?
Yeah, did your leg get on the ground and block it?
Yeah, exactly. So those are the things that I would be looking for as a coach, because I realize as a coach that if we start hitting those fundamental things right, we're going to win baseball games. Like, that's going to take care of itself. Yeah. And this is the same in any sport. If you take care of the fundamentals, you're going to win. Right? And it's the same in archery. If you take care of fundamentals, you're going to find yourself winning some tournaments. Now, maybe you shoot and you do everything perfectly to the best of your ability and you still lost. That's okay, right? I've said this since day one, started shooting. If I shoot the bow the way that I wanted to at a tournament and I walk away in last place, I will still be happy, right? Because I did everything I wanted to do. I only get mad at myself not when I lose, but when I go out there and I just don't stick to the game plan. I just make all of these stupid mistakes that I know, I stay in a shot too long without canceling the shot and letting down. When you make stupid shots and you force errors, right? That's when I get irritated at myself. If somebody just flat out beats me because they did a better job than I did, then congrats, good job. Like, you did a great job. Like, way to go out there. Because I work really hard at this to be good. And if you went out there and just flat beat me, then you must have really worked hard this week. You know what I mean? So congrats to you. I would never get mad or irritated for losing a tournament. I get mad when I don't execute the process correctly, because I have retrained myself to say my reward comes from the execution of the shot. And then on the other side of that coin, there's been tournaments that I've won where I walk away and I'm like, I don't feel good about this win. I just don't feel good about it, right? Like, I didn't shoot the bow the way that I wanted to, and I just don't feel like I deserve to win this, right? And it does, and so if your reward comes from the way that you shoot the bow and not the outcome, then you won't necessarily always feel good about winning, right? And there's going to be some times where you lose by a lot and you feel amazing about it, right? Because you're just like, man, I did everything right. And if people could learn to do that, they would enjoy the sport more. Because people, and I've talked about this recently a lot, like especially some of the younger kids coming up. It's all a social media thing about how many likes can I get, and like if they don't win, or if they're not standing on the podium with their trophy, all of a sudden it's like they had the worst weekend ever. And they're mad and they're upset because they're not going to get any likes or shares from this. And I'm like, it should mean more to you than likes and shares. And so much of this is social media driven these days. And I hate it, because like I didn't shoot the qualifying score. I shot good in matches, in Lancaster. I didn't shoot the qualifying score that I want, but I had a blast in Lancaster. I loved the experience. It was so much fun. It was probably the best indoor tournament I've ever been to, right? Loved it. Loved the area. I just loved it. Loved the actual Lancaster shop. Like, every part of it was awesome, right? Was the shooting exactly what I liked? No, it wasn't anything to write home about, but, I enjoyed it. And too many people, like, they're tying their net worth, right? Their value into, did I shoot good or not? Are people going to be impressed by this shooting? And that alone causes so much unnecessary pressure.
Goes back to that old saying, nobody cares while you're up there shooting, do they?
Yep. No.
Yeah, that's the old saying.
Yep.
Great insight in looking into it. And I don't think there's an easy or a better way to put it. That right there. Yeah.
The points is what is it's a 9 or a 10 or an X. The points, it's not, there's no points. It's a yes or a no. Did I execute? Was it there when it went off? Yes.
100%. Yep. 100%.
If I can put 30 of those in a row, no one can beat me. It's me versus me. Did I execute? Did I do it again? Did I follow that up with a no? And if you got 29 yeses and 1 no, you probably did pretty good. You probably did.
And that is absolutely the way that you should approach this game. Right there. The way that you just said it is absolutely right. Did I execute correctly? Yes, I did on that arrow. Okay, mission accomplished. If you do that, you're going to find that you're shooting the middle of the target, right? You're just going to, unless you're just being stubborn and not moving your sight, like, you're going to shoot the middle of the target if you're always saying yes after the execution, right? That's the absolute way to look at this game.
And to break it down one step, let's put ourselves on the range. If you are in that world and wanting to start and wanting to do this, yes, you do have to start out with a regimen of, okay, now pull with this hand, squeeze just a little bit, do this, do that, pull with my back shoulder, aim right at it. Has to start somewhere. We're not saying you're going to pull up and get that dopamine when you shoot and go, oh, that's the perfect release. You don't know yet.
Yeah.
You have to still have the fundamentals on knowing what to say, how to say, when to say.
Yep.
To be able to say, that was right.
And this is where I talk to people about, it's so important too. If you're brand new and you really want to get into target archery, find a coach. And this isn't to tell everybody on here to come, find me, right? I'm just saying, like, find somebody around you that you respect. So go to the range, look around, be like, oh, that guy over there, he's pretty good at this. I'm going to go ask him some questions. Like, find somebody that can give you some feedback, right? Because otherwise, all you're doing is, from the beginning, building bad habits. So find somebody that you trust and invest in yourself, right? And that's the thing that kind of irritates me in archery a lot, is that people are so willing to drop $2,000 on a new bow, buy the new arrows, buy the new release, but they don't want to give somebody $40 for an hour of their time to teach them how to shoot a proper shot. And for me, that's where you should invest. Invest in learning how to shoot a really good shot. And there's a lot of good people out there that can teach you exactly that. And that, I mean, man, it's so underrated in this sport.
Yeah. They complain about spending $50 on this, but we'll go spend $350 on a new rest.
Yeah, or a new release, thinking that this new release is going to make them a pro somehow. And it's just, it's never that. It's the execution. It's the way that you're thinking about it. It's the way that you're doing it. I can pick up any release and execute it well, right? The release makes no difference. I am indifferent enough in what I do that I know that I could shoot a wrist strap release, I can shoot a hinge, I can shoot but it doesn't matter. I'm going to shoot it well because I believe, because I understand the concept of what I'm trying to accomplish.
And we do know when we pick up a new one, if that fits right, if that goes with our style of shot. Right. To me, that's why I look at, I'm not grabbing something new every week, but I'm grabbing something maybe a month when after a month going, that's not right. I can't get it right. So I will switch to change to go like, this is how I'm wanting this to work. Yep. What's going on?
Yep.
I will try it to see if it fits my style. But unfortunately, during the bad times, I have morphed something else into trying to make this right.
Yeah.
And when it all clicks, it's magic. It is good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the other thing that I would tell people, back to this idea of blank bell, is that it's always important for me to make people understand that the way that our brain learns complex actions is to break it down into single elements, right? And so there's people that I will work with where it's like, okay, they have this, and this that they're making mistakes with. But what's the biggest issue that you're struggling with? Let's work on that one thing. Because if I say fix this, and this at the same time, they're just going to remain bad at all of them, right? They might all slowly creep up, but you're not going to progress very quickly. You're always better off breaking it down into the single elements of your shot. So if you're struggling with grip pressure, then when you're blank bailing, the only thing I want you to hyper focus on is, how does my grip pressure feel all the way through the draw cycle, at anchor, through the shot? I don't want you thinking about your execution, right? You're not working on execution right now. Right now, you're working on maintaining that grip pressure, right? And what you'll find is that after 100 shots, 150 shots, all of a sudden this grip pressure thing, you're not thinking about it anymore. It's starting to become mindless. It's starting to become a subconscious action that you can just do. And once I get to the point where it's like, okay, I don't struggle with my grip anymore. Okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing that if it was a little bit better, I would shoot a little bit better score, right? So maybe I have an elbow that kind of chicken wings down a little bit and it's causing me to collapse a little bit. Okay, well, when I draw back, I'm just going to make sure that my elbow is nice and strong and engaged, right? And for the next 100 shots, that's the only thing that I'm thinking about. Now, what's nice is that when I shoot at a target, my conscious mind is on the target, aiming at the middle of the target, right? But when I blank bell, this is my opportunity to consciously think about the area that I want to fix, right? Because our conscious mind, again, can only focus on one thing at a time. So if I'm focused on aiming, then I'm not focused on keeping my elbow strong, right? But in blank bell, I don't have a target down there. So this is my one opportunity to actually think about, where's my elbow? Okay, I'm going to really hyper-focus. Yep, my elbow feels really good right there. Okay, let's shoot the shot. Oh, that was beautiful, right? Now, if I do that 50 times, 100 times, 150 times, all of a sudden, I'm not making this mistake anymore. And now, in a day, I've taken a major form issue and I've corrected it. And now it's just starting to become who I am as a shooter. It's just what I do now, right? That's how we blank bell. The reason blank bell is ineffective for a lot of people is because they do it just to say they did it. Well, if you stand there and shoot 100 arrows blank bell and you have no plan to make anything better, then you might gain a little bit of stamina, but you're not going to gain anything else. You're just going through the motions and shooting all of the bad shots that you've been shooting, right? But if I can stand there for 100 shots and say, today I'm working on my elbow placement. Today I'm working on my execution. Today I'm working on my shot timing. If you can go into your blank bell routine with a plan, and then at the end of those 100 arrows, rate yourself, right? How did I do today? Did I get an A? Did I get a C? What did I do? Am I still struggling? Do I need more of this tomorrow? Or have I largely fixed this issue? Once you think that you have fixed the issue that you've been struggling with, only then do I go hang up a target and test, right? I do like a pop quiz, right? Let's go hang up a target. Let's dial in the bow and let's shoot a game and see, right? Am I keeping my elbow where I want? Are the things that I was working on, are they just happening now? Am I doing it correctly? If I find that the answer is no, right back to the blank bell I go. I haven't fixed it yet. Okay, let's keep going. It has not become ingrained into my subconscious yet, right? When it becomes ingrained, when I can pass that pop quiz and say, man, I'm doing it right. Okay, cool. What's the next thing I need to work on? That's how we continuously grow in this sport. The problem with most people when they practice is they don't have any kind of direction of how they should practice. That's how you should practice. We have to constantly analyze ourselves. What is holding me back? How can I fix it?
Yeah, you hear the golfers all the time after they won this tournament in the interview. They might have won by 6 strokes or 1 stroke, but a true professional will have his reckoning of, or his assessment of his own shooting. He'll go, I just didn't feel like I was swinging my short game very good today. My God, you just beat other pros by 6 strokes.
Yep.
That is a true professional, and I think you have to be true with yourself when you're doing that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't be honest with themselves. That's the word. You can't be honest with yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Tiger Woods was notorious for that. He'd go destroy people at a tournament and head straight to the range. And it's like, yo, you got to go to a trophy ceremony, right? And it's like, no, I got to go work on, I didn't like how I was driving the ball off the tee today. I need to go work on that, right? Because for him, it wasn't about the trophies or the money anymore, right? It was about becoming the greatest of all time, the best that he could be, right? Milking out every last little bit of performance that he had in him. But that's what it is. And like you said, like people just are not honest with themselves, right? They want to, if they go out and they shoot a bad score, they can't be honest. So what do? They go buy a new release. Right? They go by, oh, well, if I had this new sight, if I ran this new lens, if I had these bars, right, then it would fix it, right? You're trying to put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole and it just doesn't work, right?
They might be conditioned to do that. Like, for example, in archery, when a guy wins, it's, man, my Matthews title was really on.
I mean,
this new true ball release was just really agreeing with me. And they got to give, you got to support the people that are behind you.
You do.
You got to tip the cap. But for everybody else out there, they're like, man, if I had a true ball goat, I would shoot like so-and-so. It's like, no, you're not Kyle Douglas. I'm sorry. You're just not. You're not. I mean,
and and here's the thing is that people only see people when they get to that top level. They didn't see the 20 years of work that it took him to get there. Right. And that's where people really, I think they really shoot themselves in the foot because they don't understand that the path to elite level success and whatever it is that you're doing is paved with this rocky road full of obstructions and hurdles and stuff to get through and over and under. And if you understood that if you truly want to get good at this, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot more work than you think it's going to take, right? And if you think you're doing enough, do a little bit more. That's what I used to always tell the twins, right? I would text them at the end of the day, how much did you guys shoot today? Oh, we shot 200 arrows. Do you think you did enough? Yeah, it felt pretty good. All right, go out and shoot a little bit more. It's 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, do just a little bit more. Like every time you think you did enough, do a little more. Just do a little more, right? When you go to put your bow down for the night, be like, you know what? I got another end in me. That's how you get yourself, right? Doing something that no one else is willing to do is how you get there, right? So if your competition's shooting 200 arrows a day, you better shoot 210. You better shoot 220. You better be willing to do a little bit more than what they're willing to do, right? That's how you get there. And, and just not putting limits on yourself, right, too. And that's the other thing. Just 5 years ago, nobody thought that, like, 900 with 90 X's was going to be possible in Vegas. And now it's like, oh man, like this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
We're getting every year. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Closer and closer.
And like nobody's almost shooting a 30X game, even in the compound professional class, was so rare. Right? 10 years ago, it was unheard of. If you shot a 30X, and it did happen rarely, but when you did it, it was like, oh my God, did you hear so-and-so shot a 30X? Now, at the end of Vegas, it's like, oh yeah, only 20 people shot 30X this day. It was kind of a bad day for 30X. Like it's wild. And
now it's starting with recurve, and one guy's done it. Give it 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that to this day, I think that Brady shooting a 900 in
that's up here.
I said this, and it just sucks that like Sports Center doesn't cover this, because I think this is one of the greatest sporting accomplishments that has ever happened in the world of sports. Right, to shoot a 900 in Vegas with a recurve bow is insanity. Right, and I honestly. I think that he showed people that it's possible, and people are going to do it again someday. But that could be one where that was such an anomaly that it might still take 10 more years for somebody to do it again. I don't know how long it's going to take, but to me it seems insane.
And to know that they were right behind him watching him.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, like I can't think of an accomplishment in sports that is bigger than that. Like if people understood what that is, like there's so many compound shooters that have never shot a 900 in Vegas. Like, it's just, it's insane. I can't even wrap my head around it. Like, it's just crazy. When he did it, I was just like, I remember that year, and he shot a 300 on first day. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I didn't shoot a 300 today. That's crazy. I just got beat by a guy with a recurve. And then he did it on the second day, and I mean, it was mind-blowing. Like, this guy has a chance for a 900. And I remember going and watching that line and sitting in the arena and just watching every arrow, because I was like, this is insane. I mean, he gets to his fifth and it's like he's just cleaned the first half. Like, this guy's got a real shot at it. And then he cleans the sixth and the seventh and the eighth. And I'm like, oh, my God. Like, this might happen.
Is this really happening?
This is, like, and then we have it on video, like, because it was so crazy. And then on the 10th end, everybody comes down because they all want to stand behind him and they want to witness this historic thing that could potentially happen. And even in the back of my mind, I'm like, I know that he just shot, 29 perfect ends, but dude, to do it on the like, is he really going to do this? And like the first arrow, good. Second arrow, good. Third arrow, holy shit, he did it. Like, oh my God. Like, it's the most insane thing I've ever seen in sports.
I will promise you that is probably one of the most watched archery things across the world. There were people up in all countries watching that live to see what was going on. I will bet that. I will bet that. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, like I said, I wish ESPN covered stuff like that, because I mean, there's nothing that I think's been done, that tops that. I mean, it's just insane. It's if you would have asked me before that weekend if it's possible, I'd be like, technically yes, but no. Like, there's no one's ever going to shoot 900 with a recurve, but it's not possible.
And as well as we do, the other recurvers in the world, that's their practice right now.
Absolutely.
Casey Kaufhold, that's how she's practicing. Absolutely. I got to be the first one, so that I am the one that everyone's reaching for. I got to be that Bodie. I got to be that Kyle Anderson. I got to be that Brady Ellison. Now, there's going to be a female recurver do that. And when it happens, their name's going to be right there in the pedestal with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it will happen again, because he showed the world that it's possible. That's so right. It will happen again. It's just, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that it did happen. Right? Because again, if you would have asked me if it was possible, I would have said no way, can't do this.
Yeah,
so.
It's crazy. We got a listener question from Carl Shipley. Do you hold your breath at full draw, or are you actively breathing?
Yeah, so I don't actively breathe, but somebody had asked me this question only a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, geez, I don't even know. And so I had to like really pay attention to what I do. And so what I do is I breathe as I come in, and as I'm anchoring, I let out, and then I breathe in halfway so I have fresh oxygen while I'm aiming. A lot of people, I've come to realize, hold their breath through the whole thing, and that causes a lot of issues while you're aiming because your oxygen levels start to deplete, right? And your CO2 levels go up. And so what I find that I didn't even really realize I did this. I've never actually paid attention to it. But yeah, so I breathe until I come down and I'm really aiming, and then I slowly breathe in about halfway. And then right as I'm really getting ready, the shot's going to actually fire here in the next 3 to 5 seconds, I actually hold. Right. So that's how I do it. I don't know. I was in the Army as a designated marksman, and that's just how I did it there too. But yeah, with archery, I didn't know. I didn't have an answer. So I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go see. I don't know what I do.
But I've spent enough of my life at full draw, and it just like, I'm not thinking about breathing right now.
It's
but
one
I'm
of those
getting
things
it done.
that it becomes so subconscious that sometimes, and that has been actually one of the harder things with coaching, right? There's a lot of fantastic shooters out there that are just not very good at coaching because they don't have this ability to articulate and explain. And what's really funny is if you take a really elite caliber shooter and oftentimes, especially if they've never coached before, and ask them like, hey, what's your process of shooting a bow? They just kind of draw a blank. They don't even know. I was talking to Paige about her seminars and how she does it. And she was like, I really had to sit down and think about what I do because I didn't know, right? I had done it my entire life, and I didn't have like all of the answers, right? Because I just do it. And Paige is also very much a believer in shooting in the subconscious. And she was like, my shot is so subconscious, I didn't even really have the answers. And so, when I first started helping people, and the twins were the first people I ever started helping, right? I would actually have to think about what is it that I do? Because I don't want to tell you to do something that I don't actually do. So I would actually have to think about, how do I articulate this? How do I actually explain this? Right. And then so over the years, I've kind of come up with good, effective ways to explain the process of what I do. But it's not an easy thing all the time. When you just do something every day and you're indifferent about how you do it, you can get to a point where you don't even know how to explain it. It's just one of those things, you just do it, right? Like, ask a major league hitter how he hits a fastball. He has no idea. He just does it. He can just do it. His brain reacts, right? And that's how archery is.
It's like when you tell people I don't look at the yellow and white lines when I drive down the highway. They're there.
You just do it.
Yeah, it's peripheral,
Your brain sees it and it does what it's supposed to do, but you don't. Yeah, you're not trying. You don't know.
Well, Blake, we've taken a lot of your time, and I bet we could go for another 2 hours.
Oh, I'm sure.
Why don't you go over social medias, where people can contact you, how to contact you, and once again, highlight your sponsors.
Yeah, so I mean, I really don't have much in the line for sponsors. I have Gold Tip and I have AE. I don't do a bow sponsor because I don't know. I'm not Kyle Douglas. I'm not Bodie. I shoot at a high level, but I'm just, I don't care about the sponsor thing. I've always just wanted to be good because I wanted to be good. It was never about trying to wear a jersey or anything like that. I'm one of the only people that I know that doesn't wear a jersey, right? I refuse to wear a jersey. I never do. Not a knock against people that do. I've always just done it because I wanted to be good at it. So, really, really like Tim Gillingham. He's a really good dude. He treats us awesome. And so we always shoot Gold Tip. And then AE is really, really good to us. And they've given us really, really good contracts and really, really help us with stuff. Other than that, I always shoot Hoyt. I like Hoyt. I've shot for Hoyt before, but I haven't. But as far as social media, you can find me on Facebook, just like Jerome. You'll see a picture of me. Same on Instagram. The coaching clinic that I run is called Precision Archery Solutions. You can find that on Facebook as well. But yeah, I mean, just if anybody needs help out there, just get a hold of me. I'm super approachable. I love to answer questions. I love to help people. Genuinely, I just have a passion for this. And I hope that shines through a little bit in this podcast because I'm just passionate about shooting and I like to help people, right? I want people to love archery. And, I've been helping my buddy Sean. He just bought an archery shop. I've been helping him a lot in here. And that's the thing that people always say when they come through the door. They're like, man, the last guy, like he wasn't as nice as you guys. Like, you guys actually like doing this. I'm like, yeah, like archery is just our passion. This is what we do. Like, we love getting people set up and helping them and teaching them. And so anybody that buys a bow in here, if they've never shot a bow before, or even if they just need a little bit of help, like, we'll sit there after we set up a bow and teach them how to shoot it. And so super approachable. Just hit me up online if you have any questions. If you want to set up a couple lessons, we can do that. But, I definitely recommend to you guys that are looking to get better, find some people locally around you that you respect. Now, there's a lot of online coaches out there that, my thing is you should look for somebody that you respect, somebody that takes archery seriously. They live and breathe this stuff. They understand the concepts. I don't believe that a coach has to shoot at the highest levels. I really don't believe that. But they should understand the concepts of what they're talking about. I've seen a lot of coaches in the past where they're just like, hey, don't punch, but then you watch them shoot and they punch harder than anybody, right? And it's like, how can you tell them to not punch if you can't show them? That's where I've always tried to separate myself as a coach, as I didn't want to be one of those coaches that coach but can't do. I wanted to be one of those coaches where it's like, here's what you should do, and here, let me show you, right? And also, I go out and I stand on the same line you guys stand on, and I try and shoot the best I can, and doesn't always work out for me the way that I would love it to, but I'm out there competing and trying and right there with you guys. And I've experienced all the same things that you guys are going through, and here's how I got through it. And, and so that's how I try and separate myself a little bit.
What's the name of the shop?
The shop is Great Northwest Archery up in Puyallup, Washington. So if you guys are ever in this area, drop in.
There you go.
Yeah.
Be out on the left coast.
Out on the left coast. We got a lot of awesome safari events and stuff out here. So if you guys like that Redding orange dot stuff, man, come out here in the summer. There's a million of those tournaments out here. We do a lot of really cool stuff. So
trying to get it bigger. We got one down in Texas now, and I know we met at the Indiana shoot. You're like, hey, I'm Blake. I'm like, Blake Jerome? Because I saw I recognized you from Archery Unfiltered early on. I was like, you're like, how's this weird kid from Oklahoma know me? I'm like, you practice on field ranges and use the smaller target than that distance. You're like,
that's right.
All right, kid's obviously got autism.
No. That's awesome.
Oh man, well, thank you for sitting down with us, man. I hope it gets to somebody out there that needs to hear it. And I say I've worked with Blake. He's truly a master of his craft. So y'all reach out to him if you're looking to take that next step in your archery journey. And see you on the line. Really, Dave, you got anything?
No, I was trying to find that town in Washington I was at last year, and I can't find it. It's based around a lake.
Is that on the west side or the east side?
It was in the desert side, the west,
the east side, around the lake. Where you like Moses Lake?
Moses Lake. That's it. I was at Lake Moses. Yeah.
Okay.
I was teaching a class up there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, that's actually an awesome area. Giant muleys out there.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. Good. Really good mule deer hunting around there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think so because there's not a lot of mountains out there, but there's a lot of desert muleys out there, so it's a good area.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you come back on next time. We'll talk hunting without Dave.
Yeah, guys. All right. Well, thanks for having me on here. That was fun. I like doing this stuff.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Neil, have a great day.
Y'all be good.
You bet.